Alrighty, gonna go and test. Now starting a hobby hangout. This will be kind of a recurring thing that we do moving forward. Where I paint and go ahead and post it, and I'll have guests on. Patreon members will be able to access this and hop on as well. But we're gonna give it a first try today, and I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna paint some Fimir, um, because Fimir are pretty amazing. So right now, just kind of working on this Fimirac, and had this kind of passion project for essentially for what feels like forever, um, which is an all Fimir army. Um, so finally got my hands on the rest of the Fimir that I needed for for the force, and they are going to be counts as Ogrid Therodons, which is pretty rad that they've got the amount of, or I guess that A, that I'm insane enough to buy all of them, and then that B, that they are on 50 mils and they are Games Workshop models. So um, when I actually started this process right before third edition came out, and I as soon as I got the first batch of this army in the mail, um, it was it turned out that they were squatted, so that was a whole lot of fun. um, yeah, the the whole thing's a little strange, but you know, who am I to stand in the way of uh, doing the same thing over and over and over, or failing over and over and over, right? So what I'm thinking is now that I've got the rest of them, we can lose all of the 50 mil base armies that these guys can approximate as, right? Keep the theme going, and have something to complain about, because as we all know, having something to complain about is like a prereq for Warhammer player. Gotta complain about something. So you may hear my dog in the background, but I'm not going to apologize for him. He apologizes for no one. That's right, Marty. So we'll get all this stuff set up soon. Right now, I'm just trying to get a little bit of texture on this cape. I went and did kind of a, you know, just a weird thing, as often I do. I went way too far into figuring out the um, clothing that I wanted for the the Fimir here, and the I guess the color scheme that I was going to go with the army. And I knew that I wanted to do this kind of like weird, sickly green slash almost humany flesh, but the the thing that I really wanted to focus on was, these are partially inspired um, by Celtic legend. And so I figured, if I'm gonna do it, I might as well go as far into the weeds as I can. And so I was researching around for kind of traditional clothing uh, for Scots because I guess I have Scottish heritage and that felt more interesting to me at the moment. Sorry, Irish. And wanted to see what the traditional clothing was for them. And turns out it's not actually kilts or kilts, right? It was actually linen that they would dry with, or sorry, dye with horse piss, which is crazy, but also ridiculously awesome that that's the thing. And oh, I can't remember the name of the red herb off the top of my head. But anyways, um, yeah. So that became the color scheme for these guys. So kind of a um, yellowy canvas kind of look for them. Um, and some browns, which I'm probably gonna put this up to canvas or red. Um, and see how that works out. So far, I'm really liking this. They're in the ugly phase, which I think all models are in at one point in time, especially, I guess, the way that I paint. Um, and these are very much in the ugly phase. They're at that point where I'm looking at them and I'm going, oh, these are gross, and I don't like anything about them. But, so the way to get through that is to just persevere, keep on going. So I guess that's what I'm gonna do. Yep. And no, I didn't really extend an invitation on this to many other than people from the Victoria's Secret Gaming Club, as they're kind of in the same time zone for the most part. So they may filter in, they may not. More so, just kind of wanted to get this started. It's streaming is you just I guess you just got to do it to do it, right? So that's what I'm doing. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this as red as I possibly can. Look pretty red. I like red. Good red. Next time I'll be able to link up the mic, so hopefully you guys can hear me if anybody is listening in, whether it's post or pre. Um, and next time we'll have the setup a little bit better. But again, it never you can't do it until you start it, right? So I'm just gonna continue doing what I would have been doing anyways. Only now, if I can get the comments up, you can start having chats, which is cool. And then I know the other guys should be bouncing around at some point in time, and they'll be coming in. And hopefully we can get this to be a regular thing where we can have just those extra discussions that could be happening, right? Like, but until then, I will sit here and talk to myself. Now, man, Forge World models are simultaneously the most awesome and most frustrating models ever. There's something specific to their kind of like, I don't want to call it crinkliness. It's like a style of the sculpt, I guess. Um, it makes it where it feels, super detailed, but it's so angular in the way that it it's sculpted. I don't know if that even describes this correctly, but whenever I see like these kind of like uh, cloaks, which I guess I see a lot of because of the chaos armies that I like to play. Um, they're tattered. It's so weird. Yeah, hmm, okay. So that's a good test. I'm probably gonna come back. It looks like something changed here. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get that fixed. And oh, there we go. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I'm gonna run a test here. Boom, 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 boom. Listen to me typing away. The best of content. That's what you came here for. Okay. So I'm going to play that game of not touching these things because they're hyper detailed and I don't have the patience to not do anything. So you go over there. So I started with dark purple for their weapons, and I'm really unhappy with this this shine on this coat. Right now, like I have 50 more of these to go through, so I always expect like the first one or two models that I do it on, or that I figure out the paint scheme on, are going to be uglier than the rest until I come back. But again, these uh, these Forge World models are painful, so painful. Maybe on the next ones, what I'm probably going to do is not attach the arms so that I can get everything in there. I'm tempted to break these off, but stuff is so brittle. We'll sacrifice a couple of guys right now for it. So keep going here. And yeah. Make so many noises. So this one actually hit like peak ugly stage for me. Right before I started out the channel, or I guess the stream. And yeah, we're gonna try and save this. I think this guy. I'm gonna hyper focus on this guy. I guess that's gonna be my goal is to paint over my shame on this model because I did him dirty. Did him dirty. And I always do it to the model that I like the most, like the pose of the most. This guy's like so angry. He's like, you painted me crappy. No, I'm just gonna Bob Ross the shit out of this. Here we go. Yeah. Getting some red. Getting some red. Mm-hmm. Let's just get that happy little crevice up there. And keep going. I'm gonna cover up some of this nasty stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's still really red. Really not happy with how red it is. Um, don't want it to overpower the rest of the model. So I have to figure that out as I go forward, maybe with some browns. But I also don't want to bury it. So I think once I get to this side, through getting off this horrible glare, shine off this model, it will make me happy. And then I can move forward with something else until I figure out the solution to this uh, major annoyance. So it's going to continue on this. And now I'm painting over a bunch of the skin here. Generally, that um, doesn't really factor into the model at this point. Generally, what I'll do is I'll paint block because I need to kind of actually look at the models as they are in front of me. I don't know why I do that, but I don't really like referencing, paint tutorials for models or looking at images of um, the specific model that I'm trying to paint. I kind of like letting it open itself up to be a little bit more discoverable. Half the time that does end up with me painting something and not realizing that it had like a satchel on it and for like 4 years. I'm not gonna lie. Could be worse. Could be unpainted. Okay. Gotta get this. Oh, I hate what I've done to you. You poor little cool dude. I'm gonna make you look better. Oh, why in the world am I doing Fimir? Like, it's a dead dead unit twice over, right? They're just unique. They have such like, and I know about the bad lore. Um, the great thing is I can choose to omit that with this. Um, and well, they are based off of folklore where a lot of that stuff did happen. It's not. It's still not acceptable. But there is the joy of being able to take something in this entirely fantastical and made up universe and find a reason to make it your own. And that's what I'm going to do with the Fimir. Hmm. Um, I would prefer to be able to have scary looking monsters that have beaks in one eye. Things get retconned all the time, and one day maybe these will come back in a way that actually makes sense. Because I think Games Workshop kind of dropped the ball on these guys multiple times. Originally when they came out, um, they were this story was that they were a reply to Zotes. And there's a great I guess it must be an old WordPress site or something um, that goes into depth on these guys. But they were essentially meant to be a unique IP for Games Workshop. And the other one was supposed to be Zotes. And so the the Zotes are the Zotes are pretty ridiculous, right? Yeah, definitely on the next guy. Not going to glue these arms on. I'll glue the arms on later after I fit them. Yeah, so the Zotes are goofy looking, right? There's just something goofy about a I don't know how else to say it, just a blunt amorphous centaur, right? It's just goofy. Um, and so these were the other um, the other Games Workshop unique race that they released. Only they released them as like ogre sized models, right? So bigger size. I can't remember the size of the base that they were on, whether they were 40 or 50, right? Um, and they were on the square bases, the old stuff, um, or fantasy, right? And and they had just like little orc orc rules. So you had this big model with the stats of a smaller model. Um, the hilarious thing is that they did that in 3.02 when they legended or when they made the rules for these models and all the way up to Age of Sigmar. They had the rules of like a smaller model essentially, except for the wounds count, which I think was 4, which made them just as bad too, right? Like they couldn't count as 2 on an objective or anything. But I am a special snowflake, and I wanted to, apparently bump the camera and play with these guys. Um, so in 2.0 and 3.0, these guys, I think they had a 5-inch move, and I think it was either 3 or 4 attacks, threes and threes, -1, 1 damage, but it was either 6s to hit or 6s to wound, caused a mortal wound in addition. So you could throw like a bunch of attacks for that period of time and in a 2.0, and that felt like a decent amount. Um, and they could heal. I think it was like just heal 1 wound, which is pretty hilarious because it doesn't call out models or anything. So it's just like if you have a unit of 6, um, you have one model that only heals 1 wound, not even D3 or anything. So it was pretty obvious they were gonna um, just kind of lose them. So Yeah, the the more fun piece of it was that they have only two units, and that's kind of what I loved about older AOS. Is you could get away with doing that. You have two units. You have the uh, Fimirak Noble and the Fimir. Fimir Warrior, I think is what they call them. And so these guys were your leader, your heroes, and then these guys were your battle line. And that's it. That's pretty much um, all they were. And so when they put them out, um, the the original monsters, like I was saying earlier, were Celtic, right? Based off of Celtic mythology. I can't remember the name of the monster they were based off of in folklore off the top of my head right now. But they were uh, from the bogs. So you could they were actually pre-human and pre-elf, I think, almost in the same way that dragon ogres used to be in the lore, where they were an older species that kind of gave itself to chaos. And so the lore behind these is they were actually kind of like half demon, half bog monster. And they lived in swamps and kind of were partial chaos. And they they're really just kind of adorable little mist monsters that were really goofy. So the the red's finally getting there. Um, yeah, they're just goofy. They're goofy things. Like, look at this guy. He's a cyclops. How is that ever going to help anybody out? Where is a cyclops good when it comes to evolution? Nope, no one knows. Or at least I don't know. But I'm going to Bob Ross the hell out of it. So go and find ourselves a pretty little beak. I'll get to paint. So it's gonna start on the beaks here. They have really weird, like Skeksis style to them, which I think is what drew me to them the most was their immediate kind of feel of um, Dark Crystal, which is probably one of my more favorite movies growing up. The Jim Henson movie. And they just remade it on Netflix a little while ago. Not a bad, not a bad show, but um, definitely suffered from what do you call it? The shaky cam. You know um, when you can't make an action scene work well enough to feel actiony. The idea is apparently in uh, any media lately. Well, I guess less so lately, which is nice. But any media lately with a little bit of a budget hindrance and a lack of imagination. Yeah, I said it. I don't care. Is to shake the camera. And it's supposed to add realism and like impact, but the problem is like everybody after Jason Bourne decided to kind of use that. I hate to call it a film technique, but I guess it is that film technique, and it was annoying because in Jason Bourne you kept everything in frame. Um, and that's kind of, I guess, where it originally came from, or where it got popularized at least, right? Um, but the the idea that if your camera was shaking, that it was handheld, meaning it was capturing the, all the fun, so to speak, in an action movie, and that it was right there. Uh, I guess that just got pushed into the idea that that's what a that's what showed action, and it it was really, I feel like it was really bad for a while, but uh, either I've kind of given up on the type of movies that just want to throw the camera around, and call that action, or it's gotten better. People realize that it's either I guess now it's cliche, or it's also just a little lame. Hopefully both, maybe. Ooh, he got a little face on him. That's cool. I did not see that. So now I gotta paint some faces on some kneecaps. Cool. Okay, so just gotta fill that in. Let that guy open himself up a little bit more. So this guy has no red on him. Um, was it saffron? Saffron. I think saffron is red. Not gonna waste anybody's. Oh, there we go. Let's go ahead and just bump the camera ad infinitum. Um, is it saffron? I think saffron's red. Yeah, saffron. So yeah, saffron was the other guy. Here I am talking about saffron. Yeah, so the saffron being the particular dye that was used to dye the linens for Celtic wear pre, I don't know, Celts. What do you call that? I don't honestly know. I also honestly know where the green is that I want. I've got my little mini hobby station, which is this pop-up tray, which is always nice, especially because I like to move around quite a bit in the apartment, and can be helpful. So I tried to get this mottled skin. I don't know if it'll show up well, but using a bunch of what do you show? Hmm. I'll have to see if I can get a better way of setting up the camera next time. Thank goodness for first trial runs. Let's do it. Oh, you can do it because it picks up the feet real well, which is strange, but okay. There we go. Almost. There we go. Yeah, so I tried to go for this like mottled skin up on the crown of the head. Hey, it turns out if you put the paintbrush in front of the model, it will try and focus on the paintbrush. So still working on this kind of idea, but I'm going to go through and like highlight the raised areas with what is it, orc flesh, um, And I tried to keep these about as like annoyingly kind of drab as possible so that even like orc flesh would count as a highlight. I really like dark tones when it comes to this stuff. It just feels better. Uh, there we go. There's kind of, man, I wish that would show better in camera. Apologize if you can just hear my dog licking himself, but dog gotta do what he gotta do. Gave him a bath yesterday, and he is the fluffiest dog. Oh, you hear me talking about you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, come here. Come on. Come on. Oh, come sit with me. Yes, this is the YouTube channel where Matt talks to himself and his dog. Indeed. Welcome to Always Strikes Last. Ooh, we could do something really depressing. We could call this Always Paints in Different Time Zones than the rest of the podcast. I'm fine with that. So I don't know if I pulled off the mottled skin. No, I have a problem of wanting to go hyper focused on the detail that nobody looks at. Because everybody says like the thing you want to do is like create contrast on the model. I'm like, but that's not how it's gonna look in real life. And then I remember that I'm not a good enough painter to actually accomplish hyper detail, um, which is pretty funny. Oh, there is red under here. It's only on one side. So, well, that's annoying. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm gonna glob some stuff on here real quick. Some good globs. Sometimes a glob is good. Good. Great, great globs of fire. I don't know. It looks like I got green stuff, some stuff here as well. Looks like I missed his booty. Gotta get that booty. Get a green boot. Get that green booty. There we go. Marty, come here. Yeah, good boy. Come on up. Come on up. Up. There you go. Uh, is it allergy time of the year already? Possibly. Okay, so just gonna continue on this guy. Now, if anybody is watching, I'm gonna open up the comments here. I think they're open. Give me something to ramble about. As long as it's not politics. Oh, goodness. Ooh, see, look, maybe Twitch. Oh, the little model guy. I'm just gonna start knocking stuff over now. So, let's see, back to Fimir. Why do an all Fimir army? I'm a special snowflake. Um, they're different. They're so different. I want this army to get something. I want this kind of wreck on them. Do everything that you need, Games Workshop. Make these guys come back. They're unique. They are lizard wizards that live in the fog. Honestly, I got so excited at the beginning of third, thinking that they were actually going to bring these guys back. Then we got Cruel Boys. And don't get me wrong, Cruel Boys are cool. They're cruel. But man, did I really want uh, all of the things that they made Cruel Boys kind of be about, or is what Fimir felt like they were supposed to be, which is okay. They're just orcs with really short legs, I guess, right? Certainly not Fimir. They do have wonderful models, which right now I'm actually finally getting around to assembling because now that I have all of my Fimir, I can stop holding a grudge against the other Swamp Boys, which means I'll actually jump uh, into at least fitting everything together for the one or two lists that I find interesting for Cool Boys. As much as I want like a giant turkey or a vulture, whatever they are. Um, like kill a boss until the rules actually justify themselves. It just all right. Until killer bosses get good, I can't really justify the model because I know I would just build a killer boss because it just looks better. Looks better than whatever his name is. I don't care. I'll say it. Killer boss looks cooler. His crew got that spiky hat. Gotta have your spiky hats, you know? Orc and your animal doesn't have a spiky hat. What are you doing? You're failing. That's what. Okay, so I'm kind of liking this guy. And you'll see I did a really dark purple here. I'm trying to figure that out, but I didn't want to start light. I really want these to almost feel like like a almost like a black hole in space on a weapon. Uh, Probably because they had the dark weapons or dark onyx or whatever it was in the lore, but also because, you know, again, we're getting rid of some of the old lore for these. You know, I want this to kind of look like Gorgug's black hole weapon. If you all watched Dimension 20, my wife got me into that, and it's pretty cool. I enjoy it. Okay, so there is so much more detail that I gotta get through on this guy, but I gotta let that green set. So I'm gonna set him off to the side. How's my favorite accident over here. Um, Definitely not a shiny. But I don't want to throw like a. I don't want to throw black on these guys. In fact, I don't think I'm going to use any black in painting these at all outside of their bases. I always kind of undercoat the bases in black, and the reason for that is it just helps me put a good contrast on them to show how the model feels. Uh, how the model feels by itself, right? So the black just completely takes any of the basing or anything out of the equation and really provides a little bit of a clearer view of how the model will actually look. Now this one's got a lot more work to do, obviously, but you can see here, like it's just well, it's obviously it's also an older model, so not as defined, but kind of sets it up for a little bit easier to being able to see the colors in a almost vacuum. So, one more here. Okay. Now the weird thing is, I forgot the. There we go. Yes, I'm getting distracted. Live. That's how I do. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. So awesome. Okay. So I've got the purple. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet, to be honest. Um, but we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. The moment. Yeah, let's work on this guy. Sometimes it's nice having a little bit of attention span difficulties. So I'm going to see how these guys work with what I decided was a decent kind of reddish, um, reddish bronze color. Not really bronze. Like a copper-esque tin, maybe in some spots. Still need to figure it out. But I'm actually not happy with this guy, so I want to make sure I get everything perfect on that guy before I start translating over. So there was one step that I did with all of these first. And of course, my dog is going to start barking because, this is what we call highbrow streaming. Um, so just going to go ahead and get some little grimy gram on these. Get that grimy gram. And just kind of dull the model just a little bit. Opens up. For me, it opens up the detail. Well, obviously, I'm adding depth to the model. But it means I have to go looking, right? Go looking for any area that would need it. I'll just get a little lazy here because I'm fine with that. Still haven't figured out if I do want to use a leather on these. Feels like it would be a thing they would do, but I don't know if I would do it just yet. So, so that's that. Um, I haven't tried this particular grime on the robes yet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it. Maybe it'll kind of dull coat it a little bit, as well as provide just a little bit more detail coverage. And I'm not even like using the actual grime part. Um, I am just ooh, punchy punch. Really good at punching the camera. I'm gonna get one of those arms. I have one for. I have a full couple of stands actually for music, but they just don't work as well as one of those radio arms. And honestly, we just don't really have the space in the apartment here. But I'm gonna figure out a way so we can make this just a little bit more acceptable for to. Because even then, right? So, uh, one of the things I kind of want to do here as well is let's experiment here. How does this react to the purple? I've added a little bit of grime to it. I don't really want this to be purple. I just want it to seem off, you know? So I got a bunch of these. Now I know they're super expensive. Somebody's probably going like, oh my goodness. Why are you experimenting on a model like this? Because I can. And it's more fun that way. And eventually they'll all come to the right color that I want them to. And if I have to go back and strip some paint, that's fine. I'd much rather see the effort excuse me, than stick to something that I don't like. So while I'm here in the greasy grimy grease, I'm going to have that kind of fit of either inspiration or stupidity. And we are going to see if this works. Oh, I want to put another red so badly. I always wonder, like, for me, I've always done this. I haven't really like, oops, looks like I did break you. Um, for me, I never really kind of like planned out a scheme that much. I kind of figure it out on a couple of models. Um, and I have to be really excited to play it. Man, to play an army to paint paint it in the first place. The amount of gray that I have. We're doing it. We're going it. The amount of gray that I have is probably indicative of how little I play some games. That's how you know when I'm like, oh, well, I really don't like that army. For instance, I've had I had a Deepkin army that I slowly sold off, but still have so many models. Um, that has only about three of them painted, um, which is kind of sad because I really do enjoy the army, um, but I could never. There's something that just doesn't gel with me on it. It fits my playstyle. I like fast. Um, like, yeah, I don't know why it never really grabbed my attention. But anyways, yeah. Okay, we're gonna let that dry. We'll come back to that, and I'm gonna bump the camera again because that is how we do. We're just gonna actually name this streaming series "Bump the Camera." Yeah, dingus. That's what we'll call it. So just gonna continue on, and I do love me some Fimirac. They're so weird. Huh. The updated models were amazing. These old guys are, well, they're old, and these newer models are just. I mean, I know they're old and discontinued now, but um, they still feel new and kind of fresh to me. So I'm gonna call them the new models. Let's go ahead and right there. And so looks like I got some red on him. That's okay. We'll come back to it. So I'm just gonna do some painting. Get his little funky helmet with his little funky snake. And just continue on seeing if I can get all of this in. Looking pretty fun. Okay. Oh, looks like that's pulling just a little bit of the silver or something out. So I'm gonna set that down. I'm not overdoing too much because I'm not the model. You go over there. You go hide. Get away from me. Great. I've really been enjoying these streaking grimes by AK. Um, and I know the use is more like let it drip and go back with other things. Um, but I like the inconsistency of it as an actual wash. Um, just feels more real. Provides just a little bit more depth in those areas. And just feels more real to me. Brings a little bit of extra weight to everything. Like uh, yeah. So now we're at that phase where it's kind of like, okay, you're gonna have to pick a direction and go with it. At three models, we're not gonna waste our time on the next three that I build doing this. And so I got like very mild variations of how I want to attack this, right? Got my red, and on this, there's actually a very small amount of Screaming Bell, which is just a very strange paint from Games Workshop in general. It's supposed to be a metallic, but I've never had it actually given off a metallic hue unless you put it over a metal. This is a mix of the Screaming Bell, gunmetal, dry brush, Ken Optic, whatever it's called, a a regular streaking grime, very watered down and gone over. And then I think I put a brown wash on this as well. But you can see right now, there's not really much detail. It doesn't look lived in. It's all very smooth and kind of want to. I like it. I like the color, but I don't like it. Doesn't engage me. In that, like everything is, it looks painted. I guess looks painted on, which I guess is the point. But I'm gonna take these and do something a little bit more with them. So I'm going to go back to that. Probably my favorite metal paint right now, which is Canoptic Alloy. It just has so much randomness to it, which I guess fits my style here, right? So I guess we'll just no idea why there's a hole here, but I imagine that that would be better if it looked like it was just recent, right? Where there was some texture to it. I was briefly considering, and I guess that's something I got to read up more on, right? Is what were the metals for the era? Uh, which is kind of why I went with 10. And didn't want it to feel too advanced because they are this kind of like uncivilized, uncivil as we would think, Azumis. I'm just gonna keep going. Hmm. Build up a little bit more. That's really why I like this paint. Canoptic, you can just kind of like slowly build up, but it's also super strong right away. So depending on how you want to apply it, it will accept and rise to the task. It's just a really awesome paint. Um, I love how I'm talking about this like I know anything about what I'm talking about. I've just been painting at an average level for forever because I'm too afraid of an airbrush. Well, airbrush in a small apartment or in a house with roommates. That would also be. That was a conversation I'd wish to have. Uh, so at least now I've kind of like picked out some spots. See how it like just adds over and over and over. Let me go to this monstrosity of a sculpt here. Yeah, I know it's old and pressed and everything, but man, I hate this so much. These shields are probably the least fun thing about these. And it's not because it's a bad design, it's just didn't take, I guess, in the mold. It feels weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It's very low indentation, I guess, as opposed to the newer stuff. These are from Ogre Theridon and that Warcry warband. Uh, or if they stand still, they gain +1 to their saves, or at least they used to. I can't remember. I haven't used them in the new one because I got a warband that doubled up on the Chaos Dwarf and the Ogre, which was hilarious, but also, I kind of wanted the warband. uh, to try and make some chaos work or some chaos soup list work. But Cest Levy. So keep on going around, put some highlights on there. And I've already kind of like gone over these. Generally, I do mostly washes. Like interrupting variation on the color. Um, I just like tying it in, if that makes any sense. With my shitty brush. Look how shitty that is. Pretty shitty brush. Pardon my language, I guess. And so, I kind of just want to tell a story about this guy. Like, I think so far this is the one that I put the most time into. Um, even with all the frustrations, he was the original test model for like, okay, how am I going to do the skin? What's the original? What's the color of the metal going to be? What's the color of the cloth going to be? And for the most part, he's good. There's a lot more metal on these than there is on the newer models in a way because of these. No, I could do leather for some of those. So it looks like just pressed leather. Is that right? I'm going to call it pressed leather. That's what I'm going to call it. I don't know if that's correct at all. Um, but that's what I'm going to call it for now. So I almost want to kind of throw like some oxidization on these. Just gonna throw some tiny highlights there and yeah, it looks pretty shiny. I feel like a fulmeroid would like some shiny. So I feel like it was pretty good. I'm enjoying that. Let's see if I can get that. There we go. And it's got a little bit more detail to it, a little bit more definition in the spots. It still does feel a little flat. Partially probably because of the skin. So we're gonna do another kind of quick test on this. I tried the modeling with him early on. Um, so um, yeah, I think let's go ahead and try some higher greens. Uh, and then if I like that, I'll move up. Don't need a lesion, I think. Yeah. That is my Malaysian green wash, which is not for this. That is for a completely different project. And as always, here comes the part where I confused myself because I set something down right in front of myself for just a moment and forgot what I was doing. Boom, boom, boom. Here's the leather, spatula. So where I lose my mind. Oh, excuse me. No, maybe I just don't need to work on this right now. Maybe that's a sign that that guy needs to sit there and I don't need to mess him up. One thing I am trying to figure out for the wizards, here's a Mirg. See if I can get that to show a Mirg, a little baby Mirg, or at least that's what I'm calling my Mirg. This I'm using as a chaos sorcerer, where everything else is just going to be Ogrewood uh, Fomerites, not Fomerites. Look at me. Um, yeah, just Therodons. All these guys are going to be Therodons, and these are the double-handed. And as you saw, that guy had a shield, so they can play the shields, at least for now. So looks like you're doing okay, but I want to have something that kind of denotes the wizard lizards. And so I started with this and got like a light coat on it. It's Wizard's Orb. Gotta use it for wizard stuff. So if you have a Wizard's Orb, you have to use it for wizard stuff. So it's just a prerequisite towards awesome. So it's gonna go ahead and Wizardy Orb. And so here I am, Orb and Wizardy. Second code, I'll probably bring it out. Nice. And got a little brooch, that little necklace. Gotta paint that up. Ooh. I have twitches every once in a while. If you couldn't tell, makes me end up throwing models around. Here's the other Mirror with a little bit of Marty here. I'm just gonna slop some paint on there because I know it's gonna go all the way around. Schlippity, schloppity. Get on there, schlippity schlop. Mm-hmm. Cubel. Super schloppity. Okay. Cool. So I know those work well on these. Let's make sure everything is. Okay, okay. Now I guess the real test of truth here, because I can't get away from this Fimir Noble. So pretty. Does it work the way I want to? So again, I imagine it's kind of in reverse of what we're expecting, right? I'm trying to almost keep away from purple. I feel like every army that I paint has purple as like its spot color, which is probably not good. Let's go ahead and do this. I know I'm going to dull it all back down. It's plastic, no snappy. And so I'm just gonna do that. I don't know what I'm going to do about this snake yet. I'm going to let it come to me. You know, we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. So, oh, yep, I got bored. I'll come back and do that in a little bit different way. You ever had those neighbors that are just loud to be loud? I have lived in this place for a little while now, and seen them come and go. But there is definitely one that has decided to just be as loud as possible. And I think they just do it for shits and giggles because they will absolutely lose their minds. So I'm a quack guy. What can I say? So yeah. So so much for the dark theme. We're just gonna enjoy this here. And almost vaporwave it, I guess, for the moment, which is cool in and of itself. I'll do something wacky just because I can. I just feel like I need to fill in some of the color or some of the sculpts here. Let's set the guy out to the side. This one, we're going to try something completely different. See how this works out. And I'm just gonna keep it on here. Go. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens to you. Do I have anything else I need to use that on? Oh yeah. I go back for that last coat. On this. On this. This is super watered down. Cool. Please, I want to use this color. Definitely not on you. You're fine, Mirk. Another Mirk. Mirk. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's see. So those guys got to dry. Those guys got to dry. Whoop. Twitching again. All right. So I got this guy. He's got this cute little what do you call that? What 1920s football helmet or something? I don't know. And, or American football helmet. So right now we got all his teeth. He's a little strange looking, right? Um, set him up so he could be a standard bearer and very clearly be a standard bearer. Or, if I want, I can always use him for something else. He's just wacky little dude with no pants. Gotta have your no pants, man. But he does present some of the skin issues that I'm having. So I need to figure out how I'm going to highlight. And this will translate over very well to um, the new guys as well. So gotta kind of figure that out. I'm actually, so I did go through and give them a light cover of Gut Rip the Flesh after I did a dry brush over top of another, I think it was slimy light, right? So this stuff I've really been enjoying. I got it for the trees, my treeple, my Sylvaneth, and I've actually been enjoying it as kind of a decent Fimir color. I'm still kind of awaiting some other grimy green stuff, which is specifically mown. And again, these guys come from bogs, right? So once I get my black mud, um, these guys should actually have decent basins. Right now, I'm kind of just waiting for the mud base. Once I get the actual color of those, it'll help me define what I'm going to do for these guys. Because right now it's really kind of a waiting game, right? I'm going to have them. I guess I can put the planned ideas. I can put the ideas in. So these guys, but what I was thinking was they are gonna mostly be walking in mud. Um, so I'll have water effects on the bases. It will cover them up to a certain degree around their feet. It'll be opaque, um, but also like a blackish mud, very silty, right? Very dark that they'll be walking through. So none of this kind of like my standard, I don't know, ash or volcano look to it. Okay, maybe we just needed. I mean, man, isn't that too close to orcs though? You know. Ugh. Well, I'm gonna wipe a little bit off because that's what they actually want you to do with this stuff. Which where did I put that? No, where's my wipey nap? I don't know what I did with my wipey nap, so it's my dry nap. I mean, that looks kind of like, um, swamp thing esque. So I guess I'm fine with that. Plus, he's naked. Not going to see this much on many of the other models, right? Um, yeah, maybe that's what we need. We'll set him down. And how are you feeling? Still a little wet. You feeling? Still a little wet, but excuse me, right in the spot where I think we could. So we're going to try in the spot that I know I'm already going to be cleaning up and repainting just to see how much. Yeah, add just a little bit more. Yeah, I think so. So that's good. Go back over the model. Get a more streaky to my grimy going on here. I still like the modeled head on these, so I'm not going to move too far away from that. I'm trying. Best streaming setup ever. Gotta tell you. So, gonna continue moving forward here. I do love that modeled scan, but kind of want to. All right. I may need to go ask them to shut the fuck up. Pardon my French. Next side here. Yeah, I think that kind of brings them in. Oh, it's still a little wet. Come in with some darker acrylic wash. And I'm gonna hit it just small. Mm, okay. So that'll kind of give it a little bit more model texture, but cool, cool, cool. I'm gonna hit the camera again. Like boss. I know I got all this going on here. Don't think it will actually show up. Cool. Well, I think, excuse me. A lot of this is still going to dry. I think this is a good place to hold it. It's a really good test. If anybody runs into this, that's hilarious. But now that this is up, test the sound, test and see if there's anything that we need. And hopefully we can make this a regular thing. Bring on some guests. Maybe not at this time. Maybe a little bit later. But we'll see. Scheduling is always rough. So, as it is, everybody is pretty much in a different time zone when it comes to ASL. I guess they are wizardy creatures after all, right? So a little bit of wizard orb ain't gonna hurt him. Give him a little bit of different accent colors. This is kind of hitting the spot where I need to start working on the bases to really define what the rest of the model is going to look like. So I'm thinking should probably color the base black and then take a look at it. All that crap dry. Yep. Maybe even go back over this with a very small dry brush. Super grabby. So I've got the small amount of screaming bell on this one for the middle. This is just Sharpie, and then this I believe I did a dry brush. Or no, it's the other way around. I think this one had the dry brush. This one is just the Sharpie metal. So yeah, because you can pick up the shine on that one. So that's a good start. But as you can see from here, like the reason I'm gonna go and start painting these black is because at this point I've got most of the color blocked in, but I have some details, and I know that I don't like the red and how that's turned out on these undershirts or whatever they are. And so I don't want to do that with these colors that are still gray. All I've done is kind of put washes on these parts, and that's going to be the thing that I think solidifies the color for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do the black now. And as always, that is entirely too much black. It's a real problem. Just always pouring too much out of that paint. And so you can see that I'm not using any of like the expensive paint. It's literally the cheapest paint I could find because it's not really there to be an end product. It's there to kind of mask off any of the undercoat color. So that I can make a decision a little bit more based on the colors available on the model instead of the base. I started getting in this practice actually quite a bit ago. It's because I was using just a bunch of different primers actually. So I do a lot of red, red and yellow, tan, green, and obviously those were for models that was going to be the primary color of either the undertone, the skin, or there was a big reason behind it. So started noticing that the model when it popped to me, and I would get really frustrated with it, and that was because the underlying hue of the model, or the base hue, again, because most of the stuff that I'm doing is washes, when I'm doing a lot of this kind of stuff. The underlying color would just bug me. It would make the model feel monotone. And so this way I can kind of actually separate the model from anything that's going to happen to the base, because I know as soon as I paint it black, it'll turn into, like, it may be a lava base, it may be something else, or maybe a green maybe a forest base. But at this point, I've now separated the base from the rest of the model. And it's more just, I guess, a mental trick to say, okay, well, you gotten this far, you blocked out your colors on your actual model. Now it's time to start taking that model seriously. And that's why I'm really sloppy with this. It's not going to be like a full coverage coat if it's horribly late on and I'm actually that upset about it. I can go back and like kind of smudge it off even, I think. Not great paint, but it does the trick. And it's cheap. Cheap black paint, dollar store paint, right? So all of these now are like kind of clearly defined as in, you have that model now on a base. It's completely separated from the gray that you had previously been painting over. I guess it also keeps me from being bored. Right? Bored with models very quickly. Which is probably why I have so many. Well, at least one of the reasons. So all these nice and black. Not even really worry about getting everything filled in. Just make sure that when I pick up the model, see the colors on the model and not on the base. And there's no sameness with any of the colors that I may have missed off the model. Oh yeah, this guy I gotta fix. So I actually broke the leg on this one, which is painful. Because I really don't want to go through the process of having to find another one. And I always say I put too much in here. It's always the first thing I say. And then I never have enough because I've still got one more model. Maybe we should cut down the, oh, no, I've got two more models. What am I talking about? Maybe even three. All right. So go ahead. Again, being really blasé. Because all I've been doing so far is blocking out colors. Nothing is super heavy paint. I haven't lost any detail in the paint. I can always just remove this very quickly if I need, or paint over it. And we've got this one. I'm just going to double it up just a little bit more. This is not to my liking for some reason. Don't know why. Okay. So, he grows. He's a gross boy. Not because he doesn't wear clothes. To each, fashion is fashion is the thing that each person has for their own personality. This guy's personality is streaking with 3 arms. Actually, so that's tail. Would you consider if something already has a tail, would a tentacle be a tail? Or would the tail be a tentacle? This is my question that I have for you. So, I think we've kind of hit the end of everything that I wanted to paint here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop us here. This was a very good test to see if everything worked. So we should be good. Yeah, if you do watch this, thanks for watching it. And we'll start pulling people on. And, you know, make a bigger thing out of it. Again, we'll have leave this open for Patreon members, to where we can always have a hobby hangout. People can come and talk. And then hopefully plan on getting people in. It's kind of either talk shop, talk anything, more of that relaxed atmosphere. Look at lists, do things that we normally wouldn't do on the podcast due to time limits. So, thanks a lot, and I will see y'all next week.